and welcome to the Patriot on Television Nigerian. Patriotism is a feeling of loyalty and allegiance. True patriots show patriotism through their actions and choices. Welcome to the Patriot, a platform where we discuss issues of national importance affecting the sovereignty of our great nation, Nigeria. Welcome on board. I'm Peggy Shandy. Loyalty is a difficult phenomenon assumed to be understood by many. Loyalty is a function of patriotism. Regrettably, not too many people are patriotic due to the absence of loyalty. We will introduce our guests just right after this break.
I pledge to Nigeria, my country. So goes the opening lines of the six-line national pledge of Nigeria. Today, not a few, whether young or old, merely recite the national pledge as a matter of routine or tradition, with their hearts being poles apart from the very spirit, creed, and essence of the pledge. Many simply do not understand its purport or feel the import of it, while many others choose to observe the pledge and preach only. Today we have decided to walk on the footpath of the very words of the national pledge, keeping its vision and essence in our hearts, in our souls, and in our minds.
I pledge to Nigeria, my country,
to be faithful,
loyal, and honest,
to serve Nigeria with all my strength,
to defend her unity,
and uphold her honor and glory.
So help me God. Nigeria, no doubt, will truly be the giant of Africa, developed and well-rated in all indices, if her national pledge is treated with sacred obedience. It's on us, it's our duty and responsibility to make this country a better place. Let's live the pledge.
Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. This is the Patriot on Television Nigerian. Today our focus is how patriotic is the fight against this COVID-19 pandemic. And my guest is Mr. Bode Gbadebo with the Leadership Newspapers, a seasoned journalist per excellence. Please welcome Mr. Bode.
My pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Nigerians.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine.
I want to go straight to the point with you, Mr. Bode. And I want you to respond. How do you think that the fight against, the COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria, how do you assess the fight?
Well, so far, so good. Since February 27, when we recorded our index case, astronomically, the number of the recorded cases of COVID-19, has been on the increase on the daily basis. And like I said, so far so good. The government has been up and doing by constituting the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, which is the coordinating organ of government on the control of COVID-19 in Nigeria, to control the spread of COVID-19 in Nigeria. So far so good. There have been a lot of also intervention by the government, private sector, and the rest of them, even international organizations, the World Health Organization, and the rest of them. So far, so good.
So far, so good. You just mentioned about international communication, in terms of cash donations and stuff.
Exactly.
Mr. Bode, do you think that these cash donations came in and were actually utilized according to how it should be?
For now, nobody will be convenient, or nobody will conveniently tell you how judicious has the donations been put to, because we are still at the middle of the pandemic. We are still fighting the pandemic. For us to take account or stock of the donations until the end, that's when we will be able to know whether we get value for money or not. But don't forget something. Much as we're getting this donation from outside the country and within the country, we have been called on the government at all levels to ensure judicious use of this money. At the same time, we cannot be investigating now because it will cause distraction. We go on with fighting the COVID-19. At the end of the day, we take stock. And I believe relevant anti-corruption agencies are also, tracking this money.
And so you said they're fighting the COVID-19, and the numbers keep increasing.
Exactly.
No, can you be very specific how they're fighting this COVID-19 and the numbers are still increasing?
Is increasing. Well, I think we have issues, we have problems. If you recall the first address to the nation by the President Muhammadu Buhari, he gave a directive for Abuja and Lagos, which is the epicenter, and Ogun, which is close to Lagos, to be locked down for 2 weeks. After the first 2 weeks, there were complaints, there were agitations, there were outcries. We don't have food to eat. We can't move. But then the government also realized that there was a need to actually keep people at home in order to control the spread of the virus. The president came after 2 weeks. He extended the lockdown by another 2 weeks. Later on, he came back, he extended the lockdown by another 1 week, making it 5 weeks of total lockdown in Abuja, Lagos, and Ogun.
Yeah.
After 5 weeks, then he ordered for a phased and gradual, ease of the lockdown, which we are currently in. Now, the problem we have is on the part of the citizenry. Thank God for the program, the PATRIOT. So the question now is, how patriotic are Nigerians?
Yes.
Are Nigerians patriotic? Look at the pledge from the intro of this program.
Yes.
You recited, there was a recite, there was a recite of the national pledge.
National pledge, yes. What is the pledge?
Yeah, I pledge to serve my country.
What is the pledge? What does it mean?
Yeah, is your declaring your loyalty to your country.
Correct.
Well, Nigerians are not doing this. They are not patriotic. They are not serving their country.
So you say those words as the pledge to constantly reminding you.
Nigerians are not acting out the wordings of the pledge.
All right.
Now we are asked to maintain social distancing.
Yes.
How many Nigerians are observing the rule? We are asked to observe rule of personal hygiene. How many Nigerians are doing it? If you go to public places now, okay, when I walked into TVN this morning,
yes,
I noticed the first thing was, at your gate, I was given a sanitizer to sanitize my hand.
Correct.
That's one of those things we are asked to be doing. But there are places you go to, you don't see these things happening. In fact, there are places you see water, you don't see soap. You see water, you don't see sanitizer. So all of us have roles to play. So on the part of, I can tell you, government is up and doing, like I said earlier, but the citizenry, how much patriotic are we to complement the fight so that we can win the war against COVID-19? And that is why, despite the lockdown, like you said, the number keep increasing. Of course, a lot of people have been hiding, a lot of people were reluctant in declaring their statuses and the rest of them, but they are still getting tracked. And that is why we are getting the spike in the recorded cases every day.
Oh, so the indiscipline of the citizens
is responsible
on the other hand.
Yes.
So the government is also ensuring lockdown.
The government is also to blame from the onset.
Yeah.
When we are supposed to close down our borders and the airport, the government was, foot dragging until we recorded some, high numbers of cases before the government now said, oh, we're closing down our airport, we're closing down our borders. Even though, for those who made it in, they were not subjected to any checks. And they went in, they went to the town, they mixed up with their families, they mixed up with friends, and the implication of that. they infected other people.
So where the citizens are also indisciplined,
The government
the
was
government
not
also
responsible from
from the beginning.
from the initial stage.
They would have closed down all the borders.
Everything, take decisive action, quarantine people who are coming in, but they allow them to go home, tell them, do self-isolation.
And you sure that they were isolating themselves even
Exactly.
there?
And that's why, yes, people, when you are asked to do self, the choice is now yours to say, nobody's looking at me, nobody's watching me. Let me just go on with my normal life. Because we are not patriotic enough.
All right, let's go back to a very important aspect of this. I wanted to tell us something about the government and citizens' engagement. No. I want us to talk about the government and the citizens' engagement. You know, the government says, do this, don't do this, do this. And then it is left to us, the citizens, to be able to... Now, is this fight against the COVID-19 their own thing or our own thing? I mean, I want you to talk about it in terms of cause and effects.
Well, as we speak,
Yes.
the over 200 million Nigerians are at risk of coronavirus. So long the virus is still with us, so long we are recording high cases every day, then it's just a matter of time for all the 200 million Nigerians to be infected, except something is done. And that's what the government is doing every day. The sensitization campaigns, the commissioner of isolation centers, treatment centers, and the rest of them. That is for government to do. Making money available for drugs and other equipment needed, like PPE, personal protection equipment for doctors, and other health workers, to adopt so that they can be protected. You understand? So that's for the government to do. Now, like you said, are we taking ownership? Is it our war? Is it our problem or government problem? It is not government problem. It is our problem. Because the government is peopled by Nigerians. The same Nigerians who are in government belong to the society, the Nigerian society. So you can see it's our problem. So that is why all hands must be on deck for us to decisively fight this virus, or we'll be doomed. We see every day on the international news channels what is happening in America, what is happening in Spain, what is happening in Russia, what is happening in other places. So it's a global pandemic, yes. Nigeria is not an exception, and that is why all must cooperate. We must all cooperate with authorities to make sure that the war against coronavirus is won within the shortest time possible.
I want you to, Mr. Bode, I want you to address this in very specific iteration. One, I wanted to discuss it in terms of cooperation. Is this fight a government fight so they can attract international monies and fundings to their pockets?
Okay.
Or is this fight ours, the citizens, because it's the federal government and the citizens? Now, I wanted to talk about your appraisal of this fight in terms of cooperation, transparency, and trust. Do the citizens trust the government? Is the government cooperating with the citizens, or are the citizens cooperating with the government? Is there transparency in the first place?
In fact, it's a mixed bag of good and bad. See, when there was lockdown on Abuja, Lagos, and Ogun for 5 weeks before the relaxation now, which we are enjoying. To some extent, there was cooperation in some parts of the country, and in other parts of the country, there was no cooperation. You are asked to stay at home, but as of that time, we are still seeing people traveling from one place to the other. Every day we see them on TV being arrested, being sentenced to community service and the rest of them. And this brings me to the issue of trust. When you are given in an organization, let's assume this is an organization, and an organization is a country, let's assume it is a country. Yeah. When you are given an instruction to follow, and you begin to doubt whether to follow or not, it means you are disenchanted. You don't believe in the authorities again, so you now believe on your own. You are now authority to yourself. You want to, you want to be the law unto yourself.
Yes.
Now, when government is not responsible for your welfare, you are naturally bound to be disenchanted.
Or to become a rebel.
Exactly, a dissent.
Like in this case, the palliatives.
decent.
You were going to send monies into accounts, and nobody saw no money.
Not necessarily.
We went down to the streets, yes. We didn't find nothing.
I'm even talking pre-COVID-19.
Okay.
The state of affairs before COVID-19.
Okay.
Is the government responsible to the citizens? No. In the advanced nations, we hear of what is called the social security policy.
I'm coughing here. Sorry, please.
The social security policy is a policy whereby when you are unemployed, you are aged, you are entitled to some allowances from the government to keep life going. In Nigeria, you are on your own. So there is a tendency, because you are on your own, not to respect the order of the government that has failed to be responsible for your security and welfare.
Okay.
And that's why I describe it as a mixed bag of good and bad. Government is liable, citizens are liable. But to be fair and be truthful, the government should take the large portion of the blame.
Yeah, because the government is responsible to providing basic amenities to the citizens.
Exactly.
Security.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I want you to still talk about the trust.
Yes.
Can we trust this government? As a matter of fact, in this fight against other patriotic, you know, some people came out to the streets and said they were asked to say they were positive. So they give them huge sums of money.
True, but
is that true?
I heard about the allegation, but I don't know how true it is.
Some of them were taken, and in Gombe, there's an isolation center where they decided to put them, and we heard those victims crying out, and we are not positive. And so please, no food, no nothing, please take us away from here. They revolted, but they were kept there. Now, lastly, the situation where people were kept in isolation or quarantined, and they all ran away from those quarantine centers. The issue of trust, please, can you talk about it, please?
Well, you see, in a situation like this kind of things, distrust is bound to happen, because there are bound to be underhand dealings. When you entrust people with money, there are bound to be underhand things. Somebody will want to be clever than have. Somebody want to divert. Somebody want to misappropriate the money. Now, there is no doubt there is coronavirus. If you don't believe in Nigeria, we should, given what is happening around the world, we should know there is the existence of coronavirus. And coronavirus is also in Nigeria. We have seen victims on recorded videos telling us their experiences. Remember, it claimed the life of a political office holder in this country at the highest echelon of government, the chief of staff to the president.
Even when people didn't believe
exactly
that there was COVID-19.
Exactly.
But the claiming of that, the chief of staff, Bakari,
exactly,
opened eyes,
exactly,
opened the citizens.
And we have lost scores of lives to COVID-19. Now, even if you don't want to believe there is a existence of COVID-19, with the happiness, you are supposed to believe. That's one. But then, that does not take away the fact that people may want to use COVID-19 to steal. People may want to use COVID-19 to appropriate money to their private pockets.
Yes.
That is bound to happen. And like I told you earlier, if you begin to interrogate that now at the middle of fighting the war, we might be distracted. And that's why I say, let's fight the war. After the war, we take stock of how money we are being used, how money we are used rather. You understand? Even though corruption in the course of fighting the war may also affect the war. So that is why everybody must be on the lookout. People should ask questions. Anti-corruption agencies should be on their toes by tracking this money, whether the ones donated from outside the country or whether the ones donated from within the country.
That's right.
Or whether the ones appropriated from our annual budget.
So talk about the issue of cooperation in terms of government and citizens.
Well, cooperation is not 100%. We can see what is happening in Rivers. Saw what happened at the weekend. The governor had to demolish hotels, even though people saw that act as excessive and extreme
and tyrant.
But then law were breached. They said there were no law. It was an executive order. An executive order, I'm not a lawyer, but I've had lawyers arguing whether an executive order of a president or the governor could be equivalent to a law. But whether it is law or not, there are rules and regulations people were expected to obey, and they breached it. The government felt embarrassed, bad, and to the extent of demolishing hotel. That shows there is no cooperation. As we speak, there is a ban on interstate travel.
Yes.
But you see every day on television, people being arrested for traveling from one place to the other, hiding themselves, in a sack of, grains or animals and the rest of them, just because food are allowed to move. So people are now hiding themselves among these sacks or bags of, grains, so that they could transport it. Look at how, human dignity has been reduced to something just because the people need to go and look for food. All they are saying is that, no, my working place is in Port Harcourt. I'm working in Lagos. I need to go and look for food.
Talk about this.
If there had been good governance,
yes,
everybody's comfortable. Nobody will breach the rules of the lockdown. And cooperation will be 100%. Unfortunately, no good governance.
If the plan to lock Nigerians down and extend it to the 5 weeks that you mentioned here, and the plan to give palliatives, how do you, analyze the plan and then in terms of implementation? Because I want you to be touching the issues of trust in these very specific areas. Look at the plan. We're going to all be locked down. We are all going to be locked down. We're going to provide palliatives. Look at the plan and look at the implementation. Was there a relationship? Was it actually implemented? Was the plan good?
The implementation was zero to me. Forget about what you see on television about people being handed 5,000 naira, 10,000 naira, just for Photoshop, understand? Just for photo op, sorry. So, if you have 200 million people, let's assume 100 million are the active Nigerians. The rest of the 100 million are children, the age and the rest of them, who don't need anything, who are dependent on the active Nigerians, and productive Nigerians. Yes. And you are only able to give thousands of people money in Katsina, Lagos, Ogun, and maybe a few other places. That is zero. Thousands of people compared to millions of people. That was zero implementation. And I'm not surprised. Why? We don't have a credible and one-stop database. Do you know, as we speak, the government don't know my existence. The government don't know your existence.
And
they don't know your house address.
Which government agency is responsible for creating this data? I want us to take a very short break, and we'll come back and we'll deal with the issues of data very well. This is very much becoming very interesting, Mr. Bode. Bode is very nice having to discuss with you to deal with these issues very well. We are going to take a very short break right now, and when we return, Mr. Bode of the leadership is going to dissect most of these issues, that how Nigerians, what they need to do differently to achieve patriotism in many aspects, especially the fight against the COVID.
Now the match don't start. Today na him first catch coronavirus. Him pass am to Sarah. Sarah go market and she dash Adamu. Adamu carry the virus run, come give him children for house. Now so the children carry the virus enter playground. From playground, it can't enter grandpa body. Grandpa take over, pass and give him friends as they shake hand for road. Now so grandpa friends carry coronavirus go their house. Before you know, they don't throw away and give everybody for yard. Now so corona enter box 18 and he say go! My people, if we give coronavirus chance, it go win all of us. Protect yourself and your family. Stay inside your house and make sure say you dey wash your hand with soap and water at least 12 times a day. If you get cough and fever and it dey hard you to breathe, call 0800 026 7662. Corona dey kill. Make we careful o.
Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying tuned. Mr. Bode, you said that the government is responsible to providing data. If there are data, they could actually plan for the several millions of people, right? What exactly were you wanting to say?
Yeah, I told you there were outcry that people couldn't access palliative, government palliative. Hence, they couldn't obey the lockdown rule because they need to eat. You know, stomach is very important. Yeah. Now, and I said, I was not surprised because there was no way government could reach out to Nigerians because they don't have their data. They don't know where Nigerians live. Forget about all those small groups they were assembling in the primary school and giving, 5,000. Those ones are just, contracted to just come and, for the television. Now, the NIMC is there, National Identity Management Commission.
Yes.
But it has failed over time.
What about MBS?
MBS is for statistics.
Data?
Yes, that data is a different data. MBC provide data for planning. So but does not know the number of Nigerians.
Okay,
but the national population, which is responsible for census, is not adequately empowered to carry out its mandate.
When last was the census?
2006. And you know the...
Were you censored?
Yes. 2006. And I think the last one was 19-something. I remember during the Babangida days. There was another census, 1990-something, whether Abacha or Babangida days.
And look at the way they just give birth to Nigerians.
And census ought to be after every 10 years.
Yeah.
So if the last one was 2006, the next one will be... The next one was supposed to be 2016.
2016.
Now, 2016, we are in 2020. 4 years after. The National Population Commission is unable to conduct another census.
And if another pandemic comes now, no data?
No, we don't have data in Nigeria.
So how can we get data?
How important is data? No, government must be serious, about data. We need to know how many are we in the first place, but not how many are we is not enough. You must identify ourselves.
Okay.
We must know Peggy is staying in Asokoro, number so. You have 4 children. You have 2 wives. You have 2 cars. Your number plates of your car must be synchronized to be linked to your number plate. We should know who are you too. But look at what we are today. The Federal Road Safety Commission has its own data for vehicle. The VIO have their own for vehicle. Not linked to where you are staying. So we must synchronize all our data. We must have what I call one-stop shop.
What about the MTN, the network providers? Don't you have a database for people so the government can go there and need the people so they can call them, come and take palliatives? Or the BVNs in the banks, come and take cash.
That cannot
do you think the data you are talking about, preaching from now till tomorrow, do you think this data, they can be used?
All those ones are not reliable.
Do they want to be used at all?
No, they are not reliable. The BVN we talk about, how many Nigerians are bankable?
Okay.
What we call financial inclusion. How many Nigerians are financially included? The statistics, I think, is about 40 million Nigerians having BVN. It means out of over 200 million people, only 40 million
have BVN. That can be
are financially included. So, is that fair? Is it fair?
What about a recharge card? Now, what do you carry the BVN and then mix it with the recharge card? They said they will check and verify if you have less than 100 naira.
But they've not done that because they are not sincere. They've not done
That's the issue of trust that I asked you about.
They are not sincere.
And is Nigeria really fighting this COVID-19 patriotically?
We are not. We are not sincere.
So what can we do differently? What should have been done differently?
We need sincerity of purpose to win this war of COVID-19. Sincerity of purpose on the part of government and the citizenry. Look at the advanced country. Let me start at the example of UK.
Yes.
When it became expedient that UK must lock down, they didn't have problem locking down people. They pay house rent.
They paid house rent?
Yes, for people.
In UK?
So that you don't become agitated. You don't become to say, now I'm at home. I can't go to work. How do I pay house rent? They pay house rent. They gave allowances to people. They provided food. And everybody was comfortable. So it was easy for them to achieve the benefit of the lockdown. Nobody was ready to resist because everybody was comfortable. But in Nigeria, of course, there is bound to be resistance because majority are not comfortable.
You lock them down with the hungry stomachs.
Majority are not comfortable. So no sincerity of purpose. So for us, like you say, solutions to win the war, there must be sincerity of purpose on the part of government and the citizenry.
That's right. So can you just specifically mention 2 things that you can talk about? How differently we should have been able to do this?
Well, this will serve as an eye-opener.
For another pandemic?
No, whether the pandemic is coming or not, we don't even pray for a pandemic, but it should serve as an eye-opener. Let's embrace data. Let's have a database of Nigerians. Comprehensive, trustworthy database that will tell my address, my home, my other biometrics. Who am I? How many children I have? And things like that, so that it will help government to conveniently plan for me.
And that's the sole responsibility of
There will
government.
be good governance. There will be peace. There won't be resistance to any law and order.
Well, Mr. Bode, thank you very much for having you on
My
this
pleasure.
program.
My pleasure to
You
you.
have really made this this program very interesting, I must say.
Thank you so much.
We'll have you again at another time where you can